Good morning, and welcome to Building a High Performance Culture. I am so grateful and honored to be with you this morning as we discuss culture and how it contributes to every aspect of your business. From employee retention to business results, you as a business owner or leader create that culture. Intentional or unintentional, culture happens. Really quickly, if you wouldn't mind, can someone pop in the chat and tell me if they can see and hear me? All right. Very good. We are coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. If we haven't met before, my name is Michael Edwards. I'm an executive director on the John Maxwell team and president of the Edwards Group of Texas. The Edwards Group of Texas was founded to help you discover and unleash your potential. We're based here in San Antonio, Texas, and serve clients worldwide. To give you a little bit of my background, I'm a former telecommunications executive who spent 25 years studying leadership and developing leaders just like you. Adding value to others and helping people realize their dreams is what gets me out of bed every day. I'm both honored and excited to join you in your leadership and personal growth journey. Now, if you've been following our website, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, hopefully you've noticed a series of webinars and masterminds with a common theme. It's all about making 2021 the best year ever. This morning is the fifth in a series of events designed to help you kick off 2021 on a solid foundation. We're going to talk about kind of putting all of the pieces together. If you'd like to see a replay of some of the previous webinars, including Core Values Reimagined, Goal Setting 101, How to Do a Life Audit, or Discover Your Why, check out our YouTube channel. Just search the Edwards Group of Texas. You'll also receive an email at the end of the webinar with a handful of links to those pre-recorded webinars. They're all complimentary, and again, they all kind of fit in the puzzle. I got to tell you, I absolutely love supporting people who are motivated to improve their lives. I'm ready to help you understand how to build a high-performance culture and help you become self-aware and a better leader as a result. Now, as we move through this morning's talk, feel free to use the chat, Q&A, or raise your hand at any point. I'm happy to answer any questions and provide more clarity if you need throughout the presentation. Now, through the presentation, we'll take a couple of polls just to get an understanding of where we are in our leadership and personal growth journey. And a handful of you have joined me on previous webinars, so you're probably good at this already. We'll do a poll here in a little bit to talk about Zoom comfortability. But if you're joining us from Facebook Live, these features aren't available. So leave any feedback or questions in the comments on Facebook, and I'll review them periodically and address them following the webinar. My hopes is that we'll spend the next 45 minutes interacting with one another to really make this a rich learning experience for all of us. All right, so let's test the polling feature with the first question. How familiar are you with the Zoom application? You should see the poll. Take 20 seconds to answer. All right, we got 2s, 3s, and 4s. Good. All right, 14% of us are at a 2. 43% of us are comfortable with Zoom. 43% of us rate ourselves a 4, so that's fantastic. So that gives you a little understanding of how the polls work, and we'll do a couple of those throughout. So without further ado, just want to share before we jump in, following the webinar, you're going to receive a link to a quick survey. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey. It helps me understand if my material hits the mark and how I can help you along your leadership journey. Again, my purpose is to help you discover and unleash your potential, and I'm a resource in your growth journey, so please feel free to use me. All right, so let's jump right in. So this webinar is really a 50,000-foot look at a really deep and important topic. It's not going to give you everything you need to know about building culture, but I can certainly help after the webinar. We can talk about things that will help you build culture, but the goal is really to provide you an understanding of what culture is all about. Give you a couple things to think about while defining and implementing your culture, and then move to the next steps to get your culture moving forward. Now, company culture is the synthesis of values, vision, mission, and purpose, and it sits at the center of any successful business. It's a cohesive atmosphere that permeates a company and directly affects the way people work within that company. Culture is not something that can be fabricated when one is lacking, as no amount of company perks, cool furniture, hip employees, all of that good stuff. It's more than that. It's one of the most important things to get right in order to become a successful company. In fact, all of those crazy perks you hear about often in Silicon Valley, they might create happy employees, but they don't create satisfied employees. Culture creates satisfied employees. Now, a strong internal culture is necessary to create strong, long-lasting brands. I've had the great fortune to work for two companies in the exact same industry with two very different outcomes. One company has a very strong employee, customer, and community-first culture. This company has delivered the highest customer satisfaction, the strongest employee retention, and consistent financial results. The outcome of this is concisely achieving the company's business plan for decades. Now, the other company is focused on achieving top-line revenue and little else. The results are much different, including a poor customer experience, high employee turnover, and all those things add costs to the business. All that to say, culture is a long-term strategy for success. Culture is one of those things that it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So it's imperative that you're intentional on building that culture up front and utilizing all of the strengths of those around you to help build that culture. Now, again, anytime you have a question throughout the webinar, feel free to pop it into the chat. Throw a question up in the Q&A. You can even use the raise your hand feature. We'll continue on and talk about what do you stand for? Now, what your company is and what it stands for is really more important than the products or services you sell. Identifying what you stand for is really, at your core, is essential to how you live and perform. In short, it's your company's values and getting to the heart of those values. It means everything in your business. And I'll reiterate the statement I said before. What your company is and what it stands for is as important to your business as the products and services you sell. Seems kind of odd, right? The values don't make money. They don't have a finite financial reward. However, building that culture creates this environment where people want to serve. They want to take care of the customers. They want to do more. I'll tell you, people will walk through fire if they're aligned with your culture, your vision, your mission, your values. For me, the Edwards Group of Texas, our core values are pretty simple. We value faith, family, honor, ambition, integrity, and commitment. And these core values, they shape what we are, what we do, and how we do it. The core values are the lens by which we do business. Our purpose is to help you discover and unleash your potential. Our values ensure that we're operating the way we intended and don't get distracted along the way. If you're a business owner or if you're in leadership, distractions are plentiful. And really focusing in on your mission, vision, values, and purpose, keep all of those distractions away. I've found a great deal of success in using mission, vision, values as the lens to determine what we will do as an organization, or even what we'll do as a team. If I'm asked to do something, a task, an initiative that doesn't fit within those mission, vision, and values, you have to say no, which is sometimes not an easy thing to do. But it's our purpose that bonds the team together, no matter what your job, title, role. At our company, everybody, our purpose to bring everybody together is to help others discover and unleash their potential. That purpose statement, when you're doing operations and accounting, what you do still helps others discover and unleash their potential. So I'm going to share another poll with you around what do you stand for? Does your company have defined or stated mission, vision, values, and purpose? Give you 20 seconds. Very good. So we're the needle's moving a little bit. So 57% of us have a stated mission, vision, values, and purpose. That's fantastic. 14% of us do not, and 29% of us are working on it. And I'll tell you, if you fit into the no category or the working on it category, call me. I can help you. So that's great. Thank you for your participation in the poll. It's good to really get an understanding of where you're at as we roll through this discussion. So moving along, we talked about what you stand for and its importance. As a leader or a business owner, it's so important to sit down and just think. In the business world, things move so fast, often so fast, people don't stop to reflect on what the business is becoming. Now, if you're not a business owner and you're a leader within an organization, you can really pull out the word business and put in the word team. They're very interchangeable. You could even pull out the word business and put in the word family. As the leaders of our families, we have similar principles. Running your household and your family through a set of guiding principles, mission, vision, values is very, very, it served me well for several years. Now, it's really, really important that you step back, take a break from the workflow, and think through what your business is becoming. This is mostly due to the mindset that stopping breaks the workflow and is considered a hit to performance. That's one of those things you just stop the paradigm. It's not doesn't break the workflow, nor does it hit performance. It actually improves the business. If you don't take that moment, it means that the business might end up operating in a continuous loop, making the same mistakes over and over again, working blind to the change. You really have to understand what's going on in your business. History repeats itself, and hopefully we learn from that history. A company shift from its performance to its purpose can make all the difference in how people are hired, how people work, how the company performs. Looking at why the company does what it does and not just focusing on what it does or how it does what it does creates the starting point for developing or fostering culture. Now, I'm fortunate to be mentored by John Maxwell himself. In our last mentor session, John emphasized the importance of taking time to reflect. If you're going to take your business to the next level, it's imperative that you're intentional about scheduling time to what I just call think. If it's important, it's on the calendar. And I am very intentional about my self-reflection time. I have a standing 2-hour meeting every Friday to review my journal entries, my calendars, my tasks, any other notes that I've taken. 2 purposes behind that. Number 1, I want to understand personally, am I living my plan? Number 2, I want to understand if I'm leading my company as intended, hearkening back to that mission, vision, values statement. And then third, what do I need to do to ensure that we deliver on our stated mission, vision, and values? And if I don't take that time to schedule the time to think, I'm not intentional about my business. As a result, the culture created will not be intentional either. Remember, culture happens. The difference is, do you as a business leader make it happen, or does it happen to you? We've probably all been involved in businesses or organizations where there wasn't a clearly defined culture, and a culture came about or was built without the intentionality, and that's not always a good thing. As a matter of fact, it's probably never or rarely a good thing. So getting to the heart of the matter, it's all about the why. Finding your company's why allows you to start working on identifying your values. Values are at the heart of the decisions we make, and they influence the behaviors and attitudes. Thus, when a company has defined their values, they attract people that align with those values, including people who are positive, committed, and energized by their work. Ultimately, this creates a culture-breeding chain reaction that filters right down to the customer, and here's why. Values help build culture. No secret there, right? Culture helps employees feel motivated. Employee motivation is a driving factor for customer satisfaction. And then customer satisfaction builds revenue. And the key is it all starts with you as the business owner or leader. If you're building an intentional culture, you must be self-aware. What do you value? If you'd like to dig deeper into your why or your core values, take a look at those webinars that are on the YouTube channel. They're about an hour long, and I think that you'll get a lot of information that you can actually operationalize quickly in terms of understanding you as a leader. And again, there's a link will be sent to you with all of these good things at the end. But I want to reiterate the importance of those 5 points. Value helps build culture. Culture helps employees feel motivated. Employee motivation is a driving factor for customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction builds revenue. I could speak all day long on employee engagement. There is a ton of data out there that talks about the number of employees who are engaged, disengaged, actively engaged, actively disengaged, and how they can either help greatly contribute to the success of a company or detract from the success of the company. So very, very important that you really understand those 4 bullet points. And really to simplify, I was fortunate to work for a company one time that had a very simple 4-step business model. And it talked about, it all starts with leadership. And at the Maxwell organization, we talk about everything rises and falls on leadership. And in this business model, the very first bullet of the business model is effective leadership. And the theory is, if I provide effective leadership, then my employees will be satisfied. If my employees are satisfied, then my customers will be satisfied. And if my customers are satisfied, they're going to pay their bills. So we're going to deliver business results. And I'll tell you, I saw it work in action, and it was amazing. So before we jump on to driving performance, if there's any questions, let me check Facebook real quick. Nothing in Facebook. Don't hesitate to pop in and ask a question. Looks like we're clear. So let's talk about how culture drives performance. Now, since the culture of a company is a reflection of its values, it's the culture that's responsible for many aspects of the performance and the output of the company. A couple of things to remember. A strong culture means better job retention. If employees have a sense of belonging, then they're more apt to want to stay. Going back to the example, the 2 companies in the exact same industry, one of the companies, I led a business unit that had an employee retention rate of 30% annualized. Phenomenal considering the line of business we were in. The other company, best in class, was considered 83% annualized employee retention. 2 very different stories. Now think about this. Culture is checks and balances. Hiring based on the company's values and the training and fostering of new employees is really driven by the company's culture. A strong culture is created by energy and motivation of valued employees. And then performance is the result of all of these things. If you employ people who are excited about what they do and believe in, you'll experience a higher performance rate, and your employees will be working towards a single goal, a single purpose, a single mission. And the company's values are at the core of those motivations. Now, the company that I had the privilege of working at with that great business model, their culture was so vibrant, it was so overt, it was really lived out by everyone. And the business model really supported all of the things that went into building this webinar. The company believed that it all starts with effective leadership. And I walked through the 4 points, and I'll do it again. Effective leadership fosters satisfied employees. Those satisfied employees foster satisfied customers. Those satisfied customers pay their bills, which results in the company delivering business results. This company had the highest customer satisfaction in the industry at the time, the lowest customer churn at the time, the best employee retention in the industry. The culture at this company, it was intentional. It was understood by all. It was talked about consistently and lived by all employees. One of the things I see in my travels when I'm working with other businesses, I'll ask them, so what's your mission, vision, and values? And they'll take me to the website and there's their mission, vision, and values. Well, what does it mean to you? They'll be unable to articulate it. And I'll go to somebody who is taking care of the customer on the front line and say, hey, what's the company's mission, vision, and values? And oftentimes I'll get this, I don't know. And that's very telling. In this company, the culture was somewhat described as a cult. And I giggle at that, but that's how cohesive and overt that culture was. And I'll tell you, I describe that culture as nothing short of amazing. So looking at creating a culture, one challenge when aiming to create a high-performance company culture might be ingrained in the behaviors and processes that have carried the company up to the point of necessary change. To make that happen, a leader must be able to inspire employees into action. The proposed changes must be clear and well considered, and the company as a whole must be involved. It's really a team sport. Culture can't be something that's just driven top down. It's got to be created, discussed with all of those involved. Now keep in mind that sudden changes can be perceived as negative. It's a company's leader's responsibility to make sure that they don't dwell in the past and they don't attack the past. Instead, it should be presented as a step into the future, only made possible with the help of the team. I'll say it again, culture creation is a team sport. You can't do it alone, it can't be top down. So let's talk about communication. Going back to my example where I talked to a frontline employee about the mission, vision, and values, and they say, I don't know. Well, that tells me that there's a communication problem. The leaders in the organization have not articulated the company's mission, vision, values, and purpose. More importantly, they haven't involved the team in the creation, communication, or bringing to life the mission, vision, and values. So in a high-performance culture, there tends to be open, fluid lines of communication. The flow of information should be consistent and free from top leadership down to the entry-level worker. I shared in one of my past webinars that I was fortunate to work for a CEO who taught me a very powerful lesson. He said, never, ever lose the connection between you and the frontline employee or you and the person who is taking care of your customer. So critical, no matter the size of your organization, to make sure that you maintain that relationship. An open line of communication is important for a team dynamic to thrive, as an employee makes the best company ambassador. And when you've got these people talking to your customers on the phones or face-to-face, they are the perception of that company. So, if they are just excited and passionate about that company, that tells me that you've got a very strong culture. Now, as a leader, you want to make sure internal communication is a priority. To ensure these messages are getting out, ask yourself these questions. Has everyone been informed? Is this information important to build stronger teams? And will this information affect jobs? When employees feel like they're informed, they're more likely to stay engaged in the work at hand. There are many change management models out there. They've all got one thing in common: clear communication. Now, whether you use ADKAR or Cotter, all of those change management models have communication at the heart of it, because if you can't communicate, you can't create a great culture. When it comes to communicating culture, I really like to use the term over-communicating organizational change. You cannot communicate too much when you're building culture. I'm going to pause. Any questions so far? We've covered a lot of ground. Looking at Facebook, no questions there. Looks like we're good. All right, so let's talk about transparency. One of the key ingredients to a high-performance culture is transparency. For example, withholding your company's financial results is not open, informed way to run your business. Providing transparency as to how the company is performing builds trust with your team and keeps them informed and connected to the work that they do, and really how it relates to the bigger picture. Think about this. If the team is left in the dark about how the company's doing, how can you expect them to make sudden, dramatic improvements? Sharing your company's numbers gives employees a sense of ownership. If you're not sharing this information, then how do you expect your employees to know what to aim for? What's the goal? Having your employees work not knowing what the end result might be is not a culture-growing design. Now, it takes time to build trust and seconds to destroy it. And transparency is really the key to building trust quickly. Honesty is the key to keeping it. I work with many businesses that keep two sets of books, particularly sales organizations. And really, here's how it works. Finance hands the plans to the senior leaders. I need to sell X number of widgets to hit our goals. Well, the senior leaders, they want to make sure that they hit their goals, so they pad that budget by 5%. That ensures that the spread's covered. Then they hand that budget to the field leaders. The field leaders add another 5% to make sure that they've got some wiggle room. In doing so, the people that are actually doing the work are working their tails off to achieve a plan that is 10% inflated. And what we find is, in the field, these folks are just running around, hey, I'm working hard and we're not successful. I'm kind of discouraged. And when you talk to the folks at the head office, they're like, this is great. You guys are crushing it. And there's really a mixed signal there. And what's even worse is finance sends the month-end report showing the original number, and everybody's now all of a sudden questioning the trust and the transparency and even the ethics of the business. If you've created a strong culture, your employees are going to go to the ends of the earth to deliver the plan. It really makes inflating the plan unnecessary. If you've got to inflate your plan to hit it, you have not created the culture that you need. To demonstrate transparency and build rapport, do things like setting up a quarterly meeting with your team and show them all of the angles of your company's health. If you work for a publicly traded company, that's pretty easy. If you work for a privately held company, the more detail that you can provide to a frontline employee, the harder they're going to work, the better they're going to understand why we do what we do. And I've seen it again, and it's really impressive to see people who are involved in all aspects of the business and understand all of the key metrics. They become more engaged and contribute more to the success of the company. So let's talk about playing to people's strengths. If you engage your team members and show them that you value them, the majority is going to want to be a part of your company's future. Thinking about the future is a big picture look at the company, but you want to look more than just the numbers in performance as an employee's role in your success or failure. You want to look at a couple of things that really predict what the future holds. You want to make your employees part of that growth. If there are roles to fill projects that need a leader, stretch assignments. A great deal of learning happens within these stretch assignments. Look within your organization first to find employees with the skills and ambition to fill any of those roles. Play to their strengths, nurture your team on the individual level. You'll notice that the work that they're doing really gives them a positive example, makes them feel valued, and makes them want to do more. After all, a high-performance culture is sustained by employees that feel valued, noticed, and nurtured. I don't have a poll, but pop into the chat the answer to this question. Have any of you read 4DX the 4 disciplines of execution? Okay, it looks like we haven't read this. It's an outstanding resource in getting your entire team involved in achieving your company's goals, teaching everyone how they can contribute to the success of a team, and it really helps encourage intentional culture. Anthony, the name was 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution. And in a nutshell, the concepts of the book are really around making a big goal visible to everybody doing the job and measuring the success of that goal every single day, sharing that with everybody, and more importantly, teaching them how they can live up to that goal or how they can make that goal happen. I saw it in a large organization in the cable industry. There was a group called the Dispatch Group, and they basically dispatch technicians to repair calls and service calls. And the big goal was to reduce the number of truck rolls for that business. And they had the on a big board the number of truck rolls they needed to reduce for the day, and all of the different actions leading up to it. And I actually did a side-by-side with one of the dispatch agents on the telephone, and it was so apparent that she understood the goal, she knew her contribution to the goal, and she was passionate about achieving that goal. That was what I call intentional culture, and it was phenomenal. And regardless of the size of the organization, I mean, this group had a couple of hundred people, but this concept could be, a 2-man shop or a mom and pop, or your small team within your organization. Very, very powerful book. I encourage you, if you haven't read it, to read it. So let's talk about motivation. No secret, motivation is key. And as you're thinking through your company's purpose and performance as a whole, it's really important to look at the motivation. It doesn't matter if your team member is in a leadership role or just started in an entry-level position, they need to be able to articulate how the work they do plays into the broader company picture. For an employee to be informed at that level, it's your job to make sure that they have the information necessary to understand the importance of their work and that they are working for a greater good. When an employee is not clear on their work, it really affects the organization as a whole. They become disengaged, and a disengaged team does not feed into a high-performance culture. What's even worse is disengaged or highly disengaged employees, they actually detract from the company's culture. It's really interesting when you do some observations in an organization. You look at the engaged and the highly engaged, and they're excited about their job and they're doing their job, but they don't really talk to everybody about, man, this is really cool, I love this. But when you go to the opposite end of the spectrum and you talk to the disengaged and the actively disengaged, they're the first people to tell you, man, this is horrible, I hate it. And all of a sudden it starts breeding discontent. So making sure that you include people in the big picture helps them become engaged and eliminate a lot of that detraction from the business. Now, every team member in every department needs to be clear on their role in the company. This knowledge gives purpose to the work being done, and having a sense of purpose fuels a sustaining culture of productivity. Gallup did a lot of really good work on employee engagement and what it means. And I don't have the study in front of me right now, but you would be amazed at the number of disengaged and highly disengaged employees there are in many organizations. Just as memory serves me, it's over half. So it's sad, but it's something as leaders and business owners we can fix with intentional culture. So let's talk about celebration. This is one thing that I continue to try to get better at. Getting caught up in the day-to-day, sometimes you don't take the opportunity to sit back and feel good about the things that you've done. Being clear about your company's goals and targets means that your company and your team will also be informed and hopefully excited when you reach those milestones. One way to keep that culture of motivating team members strong is to take the time to celebrate the milestones. Celebrating successes really builds engagement. It forms teams that are working towards similar goals. A few ideas for celebration: offer small bonuses. Who doesn't like money, right? Have a family barbecue, create a special award for high-performing departments. One of the neat things, a lot of folks, particularly in a sales organization, they like to be publicly recognized. Hold a town hall and commend your team on their success. Now, there's a really good book called 1,001 Ways to Reward Your Employees. If you haven't seen it, you might want to take a look at it. It's got some super creative things. Some of them don't even cost a nickel to celebrate the wins. But I highly encourage you to make sure that you intentionally celebrate the things that you've done well. That momentum is just a snowball, and it just continues and continues and continues. So a little bit more about employee engagement. And again, this employee engagement is a topic that we could probably talk about all day long. But the employee engagement is really a strong predictor of the success of your company. Team members who are engaged put energy and excitement into the work that they create. If you want to build a strong company culture and maintain or hire a team that is loyal to the work, you've got to engage all of them. Culture is a collective concept and what's produced by groups of people. What your company creates together and how it performs together is at the heart of culture, not merely in the hands of the leaders. Again, this is not just a top-down, do it because I say process. It's really an over-involved, cross-functional, all-hands-on-deck initiative. The most successful companies understand the input of all of their employees, and it's through these steps that they've mentioned that you engage. So there's 5 steps that will lead you to an engaged workforce. Transparency, we talked a lot about it. Nurturing, motivation, communication, celebrating milestones. Those 5 things will help you build an intentional culture. So let's take a look at a couple of other key factors. I'm going to pause again just to see if there's any questions, anything going on in Facebook. It's interesting, I've got Facebook on my screen over here and there's about a 20-second delay. So if you see me looking over here, it's because the slide just changed. So compensation is important, but what's really important is to understand that not everybody is money motivated. But in terms of compensation, how you choose to compensate your team in a transparent environment is important. While you don't have to be open to compensation sharing, giving your employees a clear idea of what your structure looks like can really help incent them to do great things. Many of us, just looking at the list, are involved in sales organizations, and it's super important to have a sales or a commission person understand their compensation plan inside out and backwards. You've really got to figure out what the structure looks like, and here are a few things that you want to consider. First, from the employees, are your employees motivated by money? Now, if you don't know the answer to this question, even for yourself, check out the webinar, Discover Your Why. It kind of helps you narrow down what really gets you going. Personally, I'm not motivated by money. I enjoy money. I've got to pay some bills, but that's not what gets me going. If they are motivated by money, are you providing fair compensation? Is it enough to keep your employees motivated? Very, very important. From the client side, will your employee compensation terms keep your teams motivated to service your clients in a genuine way? This is important. If your compensation plan is structured so that they might be doing things in an unethical way to pad that compensation, you're doing it wrong. You really want to make sure that your compensation program incents your employees to take great care of your customers. And in terms of the company, will your pay structure keep the positive, motivated energy alive in your company culture? Now, I work with a lot of organizations. Some of them have very large commission-based staffs. And what's interesting is you can tell the companies that have a strong employee focused culture versus those that are based on bottom line or even top line revenue. In a company without a strong culture, you'll probably see a lot of employee turnover due to commission fraud. I've seen it several times in my career both ways, and I got to tell you, it's really enlightening to see the cultures that are doing it right. So finding the right personality fit. If any of you have read anything about Herb Kelleher, the late Herb Kelleher, former CEO of Southwest Airlines, pretty amazing guy. He built this really amazing culture, and it also is one that might have been described as a cult. But Herb had this philosophy of hiring attitude and training skill. And if you're a hiring manager, I really encourage you to dig deep into that paradigm because it is one that is just phenomenal. Now, obviously, you've got to have some basic skills to do the job. But if I'm hiring for a salesperson and I have the best salesperson in the world that's got a horrible attitude, I don't know that that's going to be a great fit for me. So what you want to do is take a good look at your company, take a look at the values, the purpose, and really dig into the micro levels. For example, it's important when hiring someone that you know exactly what you're looking for before you post an ad for the job. And I'm not talking just the qualifications, I'm talking about the attitudes and the team fit and all of that good stuff. Now, you really need to be crystal clear if what your goal is for hiring, what certain type of personality would be the best fit for your company. A lot of times we don't look at cultural fits, and that's a mistake. You really want to look at how they will fit within the culture, within the team, before you bring them on board. Now, if you're considering bringing people on board based on fit, personality assessments are really a great tool. There are several personality models out there. I use one, and I'll share with you a little bit more, but you really want to be able to test your current employees to help them better play to their strengths, and that also gives you data on what you're looking for in a candidate to bring on board for your organization. And it's really important to understand in the hiring process the things that make a great employee from the existing great employees. And then you can put that data to work when you hire folks for cultural fit. As you're going through that process, it's also important, over communicating organizational clarity, right? That the team understands that we're going through this personality assessment to help build a better organization, to help build a better you, and to bring employees on board that will contribute to the success of our organization. Now, again, there are many assessment tools out there. The John Maxwell DISC assessment is one of the most popular personality tests out there. The assessments, it's used in the hiring process. It can ensure job fit, it can ensure team fit, it can ensure company fit. It's a great tool to help you make informed decisions. For example, if you're looking for a salesperson and you need a more outgoing personality, or maybe you're looking for a designer and want a vision-oriented person, these assessments can help measure that. Now, they're not, something that says, all right, you answered 100 questions and this is exactly you, but they give you a great idea and very directionally accurate to help find the right people. In addition to helping with the hiring process, it also helps you tap into the motivations and the motivations of your team to dramatically improve relationships and accelerate your results. The Maxwell DISC method helps you explore ways to apply the laws of awareness and recognize your strengths and limitations. The law of awareness, if you don't know, is one of the laws. It's actually the first law in John's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Overcoming your shortcomings, it helps with that. It helps clear the path for personal and professional growth. It helps understand how others are different and how to work with each personality. It helps you build a stronger team. It helps you communicate better. It helps you understand the styles of others. It helps you learn strategies for handling conflict, personality conflicts, all of that good stuff. Most importantly, it helps you develop yourself and others to be their best. And I'll give you a great example of how I've used this tool. Years ago, I was working with a leader who communicated one size fits all. Man, he was everybody right between the eyes. And we went through an assessment, not just on him, but on his team. And we were able to understand that different members of his team received communication differently, received feedback differently. So by doing that 360-degree assessment, this leader was able to understand, I can't come at everybody and hit them right between the eyes. Some people don't resonate with that and won't become better as a result. So a little side commercial, I am a certified DISC consultant, behavioral analyst with the John Maxwell team, and I'm happy to talk with you about how the assessment can help you be a better leader, build a strong culture, and deliver improved business results. I'm going to pause again, look for questions. Looks like we're good. Facebook looks like we're good. We will continue rolling. So nobody likes to talk about failures, but failures are important to learning. Every business has experienced a product, employee, or service failure. It just comes with the territory. One of the best ways to feed your company culture and grow is to openly address your failures and openly discuss all of that feedback from your team. Failure can lead to more failure unless you're willing to learn to look at each failure and use it to your advantage to help propel your company forward. Now, I don't know about you, but I really am a fan of the postmortem. If you're launching an initiative or holding an event, bringing people back in an intentional manner to talk about what went right, what didn't go right, what can we do differently next time, and record those things so when next time comes around, you don't experience the same failures. But there's a ton of learning in those failures, so don't be afraid to fail. I'd much rather take action and fail and learn from it than not do anything out of fear of failure. Finally, feedback. Asking for feedback from your employees is a great way to best assess your own performance. It's also a constructive way to help you grow, reflect, and succeed as a leader. A good time to ask for feedback is all of the time. I've been involved in organizations that on their annual review, it has the competency, does this person ask for feedback frequently? I'm one that I just love feedback. As a matter of fact, I tell people feedback is love. So, a couple of good times is to ask for feedback is before or after big company meetings, annual reviews, quarterly. I think most importantly, in the moment. Asking for feedback as things occur keeps it fresh in the person that you're asking's mind. But also you've got to create an environment where feedback is welcome, where feedback is not punishable by retribution. Very, very important things, and all of those creates a strong culture. Now keep in mind that your response after receiving feedback is just as important as asking. Remember, they're only trying to help by providing a different viewpoint. And it's interesting, sometimes you're asked for feedback, you give the feedback, and either nothing happens with it or it's not communicated, and you just throw your arms up like, why do I want to do that? It's important that you make sure that you have closed loop feedback. I'll say it again, feedback is love. Be intentional about seeking feedback, be intentional about acting upon your feedback, and be excited to communicate the results of that feedback. This morning I read an article. It was a friend of mine who owns a PR company out of Oklahoma. And in this COVID business, he had to shut down both of his offices. And what was interesting is, he's saving money on these office shutdowns, and he's able to fund employee setups from home. And the article shows that he grew his business 18% in a year when many businesses were declining. And, so I was a customer of this company for quite a long time. And so I've got to experience the culture that was built. And it's important to know this wasn't done on the fly. This was an intentional investment in culture. And the author of the article really summed it up well. She said, if we do the right things the right way, the right results will come. When we focus on creating a culture of empowerment where every voice is heard, valued, and appreciated, no pressure is greater than the power of a kind team. Imagine what could be unlocked for your organization if you decided to focus on building that kind of team culture where team members can thrive. I think that, we could have probably summed up this entire webinar on just that one statement. I'll tell you, if everything goes well, you're ready to start building your culture of high performance. And we are in the home stretch, and I hope you found value in building a high performance culture. And I'd be honored to receive feedback or any further questions. Now, following this webinar, you'll receive an email with some resources to learn more about creating a high performance culture. But don't let this webinar be the final stop on your journey. Keep in mind, culture is my wheelhouse. This is what I love to do. This is what I'm passionate about. So if you want to talk more about culture, call me, text me, email me, any of the above. I'm always happy to talk about that. So I had a fantastic time this morning. I really enjoy spending time on these webinars and discussing things like culture. Culture building is the center of our business at the Edwards Group of Texas. And again, if you'd like help understanding, troubleshooting, and creating a culture, call me. My number is 830-446-3362. For those of you attending this live webinar, here's a cool offer. You can receive a 25% discount on all DISC assessments, impact reports, anything DISC related, including workshops, if you order through the end of the year. If you want to take advantage of any of that, feel free to give me a call, send me an email, all of that good stuff. I'm happy to help you out with all of that stuff. And again, I am just so grateful for the opportunity to help each of you accomplish your goals. If you can think of any questions or comments, anything you want to share, please feel free to post them. Follow us on Facebook. We're everywhere. So if you'd like to know more about it, if you want to work one-on-one, send me a message. You've got my contact information, and you'll receive an email following this. So again, I really, really appreciate your time, and don't hesitate to use me as a resource. Have a wonderful day.